Alright, good morning. This is a follow-up to yesterday's video where I fed the starter. It was yesterday morning at 9:45 and now today is Friday at 8:50. So it's been just about 24 hours and you can see we've got some nice bubbles in there and it's rising nicely. So it's not totally at peak, but it's enough that we can start our loaf. So my recipe calls for 200 grams of starter because I'm doing a double batch. I'm going to switch this 2 grams. Alright, and I need 200 grams for my double batch. You can see that's a nice thick consistency. Not as thick as yesterday, but still very thick. We're at 172, 180. And I'm going to be pretty much scraping the jar for this and then feeding what's left in this jar. Alright, so that 195. And that should be 200. There we go. Okay. So there's our 200. I'll put that aside because I'm going to feed that. And I'll show you how I feed that in a second. Put my fingers off because I got all my fingers. Alright, so then my double batch calls for 700 grams of water. I am again using my bottled spring water because I don't want to mess with my loaf with tap water. Alright, so we've got 700 grams. Alright, 700 grams. Good, put that to the side. Now I just like using stainless steel metal spoon, and I'm going to take this off the scale a second. I'm going to just mix together my starter and my water to get that all nicely incorporated. That's going to make it easier to get into the flour doing it this way. Alright, so you can see that's all kind of cloudy and in there. There we go. Let me try to turn the light on, make it a little brighter in here.
Here is your reminder. Feed sourdough.
And that's actually my reminder going off to feed my sourdough because that's the time of day I do it. Alright, so I'm going to put this aside for a second so I can measure out the flour. And I am using the King Arthur again, unbleached bread flour. And this calls for 1,000 grams of flour. And be careful of pieces like this. You don't want that getting into your food. So I usually break them off when I see them. That's just the glue that holds the bag together. So I just try and remove those bits as I see them so that I won't accidentally get them into anything, because people have poured them into their loaves before and don't want to get into that. Alright, 1,000 grams. Almost there. 1,000. Alright, so I'm going to take this off the scale again, put that to the side. And I'm just going to slowly start to mix that in. Scrape around the bottom. Incorporate that in. See, it's starting to come together there. There's still clumps of flour. I want to just get that all nicely incorporated. And what we're doing on this step is we're mixing it into a shaggy ball. You'll notice that I'm using a straight-sided bowl here. That makes it easier to tell for the rise for later. I have used regular round bowls, but I like these straight side bowls so much better. It's just so much easier to tell if it's rising or not. But I do like, if I'm going to use a regular bowl, to use a glass bowl, because then I can see the bubbles on the bottom and see what it looks like. So how we looked at the bubbles in the jar here, we can look at the bubbles underneath the bowl to see if it's looking like a sponge. If it's looking like a sponge, you know it's rising and bubbling and doing what it should be doing. Alright, so this is pretty well incorporated. So I'm going to scrape around the sides. Make sure you don't leave stuff on the sides, because that will dry out and just be a mess on your bowl. You want it all incorporated into your loaf. And definitely wash your hands before doing this, because you're going to be using your fingers to get involved here. I have tried bowl scrapers. I've seen people use them. I didn't have very much luck with them. I have better luck with this kind of square spoon here. So I'm just kind of pulling it all towards the center to get off the sides. Alright, that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to clean off my spoon. It's just sticking right back on. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to put this to the side to get cleaned off. I have a bowl of water over here that I'm just throwing it into and clean my fingers off. I'll finish cleaning that later. Hands. So I'm going to get my plastic wrap. So I like using a press and seal because I can use it throughout the process. So I'm going to cover this. So the good thing about the press and seal is it's all covered, no bugs are getting in there, it's all sealed, and I can reuse this throughout the entire process. So what I like to do is I like to say my starting time, which is 9 a.m. just so I have knowledge of what I'm doing for hours. All right, and then I'll be like, oh, Echo, set 1 hour timer to get sourdough.
There are no timers set.
Echo, set 1 hour timer to get sourdough.
There are no timers set.
Hang on a second. Okay, now we're going to feed this. So this is what's left after doing that. So you can see it's just kind of scraping to the jar at this point. So you're probably wondering, how do you feed? There's like nothing left in there. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to get a bowl. So I'm going to start with scraping what I can out of the jar. So that's going to be just a little bit there. And that's showing me... So you just scrape up what you can. So this is like 3 to 4 grams there. So now I'm going to take some water because I know I'm going to feed it 100 grams of water. So I'm going to clear that up. I'm going to put 100 grams. Oops. A little heavy-handed, but it's okay. I'm going to mix what I have here and on my spoon into the water. And then I'm going to get a funnel so I don't make a mess. And I'm going to pour this into the jar. Now I'm going to give it a good swish. So you can see that's all getting cloudy, incorporated in there. You can even get your lid here. I'm going to clean off the edge first so that I'm not getting anything on my lid. Get your lid. Can give it a good shake this way. You can see it coming off the sides doing that. So I'm trying to get the jar at least kind of back to where it was, where we started yesterday, where it was nice and clean. So we're getting there. Just about. Alright, I'm just going to say that's pretty good. So I'm going to clear this up. Let's see, that's all nice in there. I'm going to get my spoon and help incorporate that back in the bowl. And my jar's pretty clean. There's not much left in here. There's a couple little spots, but nothing crazy. All right, there we go. I'll put my spoon aside for a second, because now I'm going to switch to my bread, my all-purpose flour from my bread flour. You can feed bread flour. I won't really recommend it if you don't normally, because your starter will react differently to different kinds of flours, and it may take a couple days for it to bounce back from switching flours. You can feed different flours, but don't if you don't have to, just because you will mess with your starter a little bit. Alright, so that was, my water was about 113, so there we go. 110 is good enough. Close that up. Alright, now I'm going to get my spoon here. I'm going to incorporate that in. So you may be wondering, why am I feeding this again? This is so I can make another loaf tomorrow if I want to, or I could just put this away in the fridge, or yeah, just have it for the counter. So if you have a counter starter that you feed daily, that's a counter starter, or a fridge starter, or bake bread tomorrow starter, whichever one you want. Remember to scrape out your bowl. You want as much of that into your jar as you can. You don't want to leave more than you need to in your bowl to go down your drain. Alright, there we go. I'm going to clean this up and then I will see you for the next step.